Welcome to this exploration of one of the most haunting questions humanity has ever asked. Why is the universe silent? For thousands of years, humans have looked up at the night sky and wondered if we are alone. The ancients filled the heavens with gods and spirits, weaving myths that explained our place in a cosmos alive with voices. In the modern era, science has expanded our perspective, revealing a universe of staggering size. Billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and untold numbers of planets. The sheer scale suggests that life must exist elsewhere, and yet, as far as we can tell, we have heard nothing. No signals, no messages, only silence. This silence challenges both our science and our imagination. Are we the first? Are we the last? Or is the silence a mirror of our own limited perception, reflecting boundaries we cannot yet cross? The Fermi Paradox crystallizes this tension, asking, if intelligent life is probable, why don't we see evidence of it? In this video, we will explore scientific, philosophical, religious, and literary responses to that paradox. We'll draw from thinkers like Aristotle, Blaise Pascal, and Martin Heidegger, who wrestled with questions of existence and our place in the vast unknown. We'll hear echoes from religions such as Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism, each of which offers insight into cosmic loneliness and divine silence. And we'll find resonance in literature: Carl Sagan's Contact, Liu Cixin's Three-Body Problem, and Khalil Gibran's Meditations on Solitude. This journey will not give us final answers, but perhaps it will give us better questions. And in the vast quiet of the universe, maybe the most important voice we find will be our own. When we consider the silence of the universe, we are confronted with a paradox that is both scientific and deeply human. On the one hand, mathematics suggests we should not be alone. The Drake equation, proposed in 1961, estimated the number of communicating civilizations in our galaxy, balancing probabilities of star formation, planet development, and life emerging. Even with conservative numbers, the odds seem to favor multiple intelligent species. Yet, decades of searching, from radio telescopes scanning the skies to spacecraft listening for whispers, have yielded no confirmed signals. This silence unsettles us because it raises existential questions. If we are alone, what does that say about the uniqueness of Earth and humanity? If we are not alone, why can we not hear others? Is there a barrier, physical, technological, or psychological, that prevents us from detecting voices in the void? Religious traditions have wrestled with silence for millennia. Christianity interprets divine silence as both a mystery and a call to faith. Hinduism often frames the cosmos as cyclical, suggesting civilizations rise and fall across vast cosmic ages. Buddhism speaks of emptiness and impermanence, which might resonate with the idea that the silence is not absence, but simply another form of being. Literature mirrors this unease. In Contact, Carl Sagan imagined a universe that does speak, but in ways that require openness and patience to hear. Liu Cixin's Three-Body Problem portrays a darker universe, one where silence is survival, and civilizations hide from each other to avoid destruction. Gibran, in Solitude and Seclusion, suggests that silence itself has lessons, reminding us that the absence of sound is not always emptiness, but space for reflection. Philosophers like Pascal saw humanity as suspended between infinity and nothingness, dwarfed by the vastness of the cosmos. Heidegger, meanwhile, urged us to confront our anxiety in the face of the unknown, to see in it an opportunity to live authentically. Perhaps the silence is not a problem to solve, but an invitation to listen more deeply, to others, to the universe, and to ourselves. To appreciate the silence, we must first grasp the scale of the universe. Our Milky Way galaxy alone contains an estimated 100 to 400 billion stars. Surrounding us are at least 2 trillion galaxies, each with their own seas of stars and planets. Recent discoveries of exoplanets, planets orbiting distant stars, confirm that worlds are common, perhaps more common than stars themselves. Some are rocky and Earth-like, others are gas giants, while many defy easy classification. The more we look, the clearer it becomes that the ingredients for life are widespread, and yet this immensity also magnifies our isolation. Signals traveling at the speed of light take years, centuries, even millennia to cross the distances between stars. Civilizations might exist but be separated from us by gulfs so vast that communication is effectively impossible. The cosmos may be teeming with life, but the scale ensures we may never meet it. Religious metaphors help us process this enormity. In the Book of Psalms, the heavens declare the glory of God, suggesting that the vastness itself is a message of divine majesty. Hindu cosmology speaks of kalpas, cycles of creation and destruction that dwarf human time. Buddhism invites us to accept that the immensity of existence is beyond our comprehension, and that our yearning for certainty may only deepen our suffering. Literature often portrays cosmic scale as both beautiful and terrifying. In Cosmos, Carl Sagan described us as a pale blue dot, fragile yet meaningful against the backdrop of infinite night. Khalil Gibran saw the stars as companions in solitude, reminding us that silence is not emptiness, but a canvas for wonder. Philosophers from Aristotle to Kant have tried to reckon with the infinite, each finding both awe and unease in the vastness of creation. Perhaps the real question is not whether the universe is silent, but whether we are listening with the right ears, and whether, in our smallness, we are ready to understand what another voice might say. The Fermi Paradox is named after physicist Enrico Fermi, who famously asked in 1950, "Where is everybody?" His question was simple but profound. If the universe is so large, and if life should be so common, why don't we see evidence of it? This paradox has haunted scientists, philosophers, and dreamers ever since. One possibility is that intelligent life is extremely rare, that the leap from simple organisms to advanced civilizations is vanishingly unlikely. Another is that civilizations do emerge, but they tend to self-destruct before they can explore the stars. Nuclear war, ecological collapse, or technological hubris could serve as universal filters, preventing most from enduring long enough to reach out. There are also more hopeful possibilities. Perhaps civilizations are out there, but they are too far away, using technologies we cannot yet detect, or communicating in ways we don't recognize as communication. Maybe they are observing us silently, waiting until we are ready to join a broader conversation. Liu Cixin dramatized this possibility as a dark forest where every civilization hides, fearing that to reveal itself is to invite destruction. Religious traditions offer different ways to interpret this paradox. Christianity might see humanity's solitude as purposeful, that we are meant to grow in freedom and responsibility without cosmic interference. Hinduism might suggest that other civilizations exist in cycles beyond our perception, destined to appear in different cosmic ages. Buddhism might remind us that the craving to know may be less important than the wisdom of accepting uncertainty. Philosophers also weigh in. Blaise Pascal's wager on belief resonates with this paradox. In the absence of certainty, what do we choose to believe about others? Heidegger might say the silence confronts us with our own finitude, urging us to live authentically in the face of cosmic mystery. Aristotle would perhaps view the search itself as an extension of humanity's natural drive to know. The paradox does not give us answers, but it frames the question in a way that forces humility. Whether we are alone or not, the silence invites us to reflect on who we are and what kind of voices we hope to hear, or to become. Scientists and philosophers have proposed numerous explanations for why the universe seems silent. The simplest possibility is that intelligent life is extraordinarily rare. While microbial life may be common, the leap to conscious, technologically advanced beings may be improbable, a rare cosmic accident that we happen to experience on Earth. Another explanation is distance. Even if intelligent civilizations exist, they may be thousands or millions of light years away. Communication across such vast distances would take millennia, making dialogue nearly impossible. In this sense, the silence is not absolute, but simply a function of time and space. It is also possible that we are not listening in the right way. Civilizations more advanced than ours might use communication technologies that are invisible to us, just as radio signals would be meaningless to species without receivers. We could be surrounded by communication we cannot yet perceive. Another sobering theory is the Great Filter, which suggests that most civilizations destroy themselves before reaching a stage of interstellar communication. War, resource collapse, or technological arrogance could prevent survival. If this filter lies ahead of us, humanity must tread carefully. Finally, some thinkers propose that advanced civilizations may intentionally avoid contact. They may hide, fearing predators, or follow ethical codes similar to science fiction's Prime Directive, avoiding interference with less developed species. Each explanation forces us to re-examine our assumptions about life, intelligence, and survival. The silence might not mean loneliness. It may simply mean that we are still too young, too small, or too blind to hear the voices waiting in the dark. The Great Filter is one of the most unsettling responses to the Fermi Paradox. It suggests that at some stage in the evolution of life, there is a nearly impossible hurdle that very few species overcome. This filter could be behind us, meaning that life rarely develops intelligence at all. If so, humanity may be one of the extraordinary few to pass it. But if the filter is ahead of us, then our future is far more precarious. It would imply that intelligent civilizations tend to collapse before spreading among the stars. Self-destruction through nuclear war, ecological collapse, or runaway technology might be nearly inevitable. In this view, the silence we hear is not absence, but aftermath. The quiet graves of countless civilizations that once reached for the stars. Religious interpretations resonate here as well. Christianity often frames survival as a test of stewardship, humanity's moral responsibility to care for creation. Hinduism might see the filter as part of cosmic cycles of rise and fall, a rhythm woven into existence. Buddhism would remind us that clinging to permanence leads to suffering, and that perhaps survival is not eternal, but transient. Literary works explore similar fears. Mary Shelley's The Last Man imagines humanity's slow fading. Liu Cixin's Dark Forest frames survival as silence, where fear enforces isolation. Carl Sagan, however, expressed hope, urging us to view the silence not as doom, but as motivation for humility and cooperation. Philosophers also speak to this fear. Hobbes imagined life as nasty, brutish, and short, without order. Kant envisioned moral duty as essential for survival. Heidegger would say the awareness of our fragility can awaken us to authentic living. Whether behind us or before us, the Great Filter forces us to ask, what must humanity do to ensure our voice does not join the silence? Religious traditions have long reflected on cosmic silence, offering different interpretations of its meaning. Christianity often interprets the silence of the heavens as divine mystery. The Book of Psalms declares that the heavens declare the glory of God, suggesting that silence itself may be a kind of speech, a wordless testament to divine presence. For many Christians, our solitude underscores the uniqueness of humanity's role in creation. Hinduism, by contrast, envisions a cosmos alive with cycles of creation and dissolution. Civilizations may rise and fall over unimaginable timescales, and our inability to hear other voices may reflect where we are in this vast rhythm. In this view, silence is not emptiness, but a pause in the eternal cycle of rebirth and renewal. Buddhism provides yet another interpretation. It teaches that craving for certainty deepens suffering. The silence of the universe might not be a problem to solve, but an invitation to accept impermanence, emptiness, and the interconnectedness of all things. Silence, from this lens, is not absence but fullness beyond comprehension. Literature and philosophy have long drawn inspiration from these religious views. Khalil Gibran, in Solitude and Seclusion, sees silence as a teacher, shaping the soul. Blaise Pascal framed cosmic silence as terrifying, yet also as a call to faith. Heidegger saw it as a confrontation with being itself. Taken together, these traditions suggest that the silence may not be hostile or empty at all. Instead, it may be sacred, a reminder that the most profound voices are not always heard with ears, but with the spirit. Literature has always wrestled with the silence of the universe, filling the void with imagination, fear, and wonder. Carl Sagan's Contact is one of the most hopeful visions, imagining a first encounter that challenges humanity's pride but affirms our capacity for connection. His perspective treats silence not as emptiness, but as anticipation, the waiting breath before the universe speaks. In contrast, Liu Cixin's three-body problem paints a darker portrait. He imagines a dark forest universe where civilizations remain silent for survival, fearing that any sound could reveal them to predators. Here, silence is not absence, but strategy, a chilling metaphor for both cosmic and human politics. Khalil Gibran's Solitude and Seclusion offers a more intimate meditation, suggesting that silence itself is companionship. For Gibran, the quiet of the universe mirrors the quiet within us, inviting reflection and humility. Other works explore cosmic loneliness through allegory. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and The Last Man wrestle with isolation, suggesting that human loneliness is amplified when mirrored by the universe itself. Philosophical fiction, from Borges to Camus, has asked whether meaning is possible in a silent cosmos, or whether the silence demands that we create our own meaning. Philosophers echo these literary voices. Pascal wrote of the eternal silence of infinite spaces as terrifying. Heidegger saw silence as the essence of mystery. Aristotle framed knowledge-seeking as our natural impulse, even if the answers remain elusive. Perhaps literature's greatest gift is that it allows us to live within the silence without resolving it, to imagine, to fear, to hope, and to find beauty in the unanswered. Philosophers across history have grappled with the silence of existence, and the cosmic silence only intensifies these reflections. Blaise Pascal famously spoke of the eternal silence of infinite spaces as terrifying, capturing the existential dread of isolation in a universe too vast to comprehend. For Pascal, the silence pointed toward the need for faith, a leap beyond reason. Aristotle, in contrast, framed curiosity as central to being human. He would see the silence not as despair, but as invitation, an open question that inspires science, philosophy, and exploration. For him, not hearing other voices means there is still much to learn, and the search itself becomes part of our identity. Nietzsche's reflections add another layer. He might argue that the silence of the universe reflects the absence of divine order, forcing us to confront the burden of creating meaning ourselves. The silence is not a void to be filled, but a mirror, showing us the limits of human projection. Heidegger offers a more ontological approach. For him, silence confronts us with being itself, stripping away our illusions. The vast quiet is not absence but presence, a profound reminder that existence itself is mystery. Modern philosophers continue the debate. Some argue the silence reflects epistemic humility, a reminder that human cognition is limited. Others claim it forces us to face our cosmic insignificance, while still affirming the value of creating meaning in our finite lives. Thus, the silence does not end philosophy, but fuels it. Each thinker, from Aristotle's optimism to Pascal's faith to Nietzsche's defiance, helps us see that silence is not a final answer, but a challenge to reflect on who we are. The silence of the universe resonates deeply with the loneliness of the human condition. We each live within a consciousness no one else can fully enter, and the absence of cosmic voices mirrors this solitude. Just as we long for intimacy on Earth, we long for cosmic companionship beyond it. Psychologists suggest that our yearning for other voices is an extension of our social instincts. Humans are wired to connect, and the silence of space feels like a rejection, as though the cosmos itself refuses to answer. Existential philosophers like Sartre emphasize that this loneliness is not an accident, but part of freedom, forcing us to take responsibility for meaning in a silent world. Religious perspectives offer comfort here. Christianity often views the silence as divine design, positioning human beings as caretakers of Earth. Hinduism envisions countless worlds in cycles, suggesting that silence now does not mean silence forever. Buddhism encourages acceptance, that the silence may be an illusion, since interconnection exists even if we cannot hear it. Literature captures this ache poignantly. Gibran's Solitude and Seclusion reflects on the beauty and pain of being alone, a sentiment amplified when applied to humanity's cosmic condition. In Shelley's Frankenstein, the creature's loneliness mirrors our own, reaching for companionship that may never come. Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot underscores how fragile and isolated we are, yet how precious that makes our world. The silence of the universe, then, is not only a scientific puzzle, but also a metaphor for our deepest longings. It asks, if no other voices answer, will we learn to answer each other more fully? One possibility is that the silence does not mean we are alone, but that our technology is not yet sufficient to hear. Humanity has only been listening for a century, using methods bound to our current understanding of physics. Perhaps alien civilizations communicate using dimensions, frequencies, or mediums we cannot perceive. Carl Sagan suggested that our listening is like dipping a glass into the ocean and declaring there are no fish because none appeared inside. The silence may be an illusion of perspective, a symptom of our youth as a species. In a universe billions of years old, our century of searching is a mere blink. Philosophically, this invites humility. Kant argued that our perception is filtered through categories of understanding. We cannot know reality as it is, only as it appears to us. Perhaps alien signals fall outside those categories. Heidegger might frame this as a confrontation with technological arrogance, a reminder that tools shape but also limit our horizon. Religious traditions echo this caution. Hinduism speaks of multiple layers of reality beyond ordinary senses. Buddhism teaches that illusion veils truth, suggesting that cosmic communication may exist but remain hidden by ignorance. Christianity often interprets human limitation as a reason for humility before God's creation. Literature also resonates here. Borges imagined infinite libraries and labyrinths of meaning, where messages exist but remain indecipherable. Science fiction like Clarke's 2001, A Space Odyssey envisions intelligences communicating in forms we struggle to recognize. The silence, then, may be less about emptiness and more about our blindness. We may already be surrounded by voices speaking in languages of physics and perception that we have not yet learned to hear. The silence of the universe may not be a problem to solve, but a lesson to learn. It forces us to recognize the fragility of our existence, the rarity of our world, and the preciousness of life. Carl Sagan often reminded us that the absence of other voices should not diminish our worth, but elevate our sense of responsibility. In philosophy, humility is often linked to wisdom. Socrates declared that true wisdom begins with recognizing what we do not know. The silence of the cosmos embodies this ignorance, a vast unknown that humbles human pride. Nietzsche, though often defiant, would see the silence as a challenge to create meaning in the face of indifference. Religious traditions affirm this humility. Christianity teaches that silence may reflect divine mystery, and our response should be stewardship. Hinduism interprets silence as part of the cosmic order. Humans are one small piece of the eternal rhythm. Buddhism suggests that the silence can awaken compassion, reminding us that suffering and longing are shared even if other civilizations remain unseen. Literary reflections reinforce this lesson. In Cosmos, Carl Sagan celebrated the beauty of a universe larger than ourselves. Gibran's solitude and seclusion found dignity in silence and distance. Mary Shelley's The Last Man warned that survival without humility leads only to despair. Technology may one day break the silence, but even if it never does, the lesson remains. We are small but capable of wonder. The silence does not erase meaning, it deepens it by forcing us to recognize the miracle of our fleeting existence. The silence of the universe may not be permanent. It is possible that in the coming decades or centuries, humanity will finally hear another voice. The discovery of microbial life on Mars, Europa, or Enceladus would already change everything, proving that life is not unique to Earth. And if intelligent signals ever reach us, the silence will end with the most profound encounter in human history. But it is also possible that silence will persist. Even if life exists, civilizations may be too distant, too different, or too transient to connect with us. In this scenario, humanity must learn to live with cosmic loneliness, finding meaning not in discovery, but in care for one another. Philosophers frame this as a choice. Camus taught us to embrace the absurd, to live fully even in the face of indifference. Kierkegaard might suggest faith in the unseen, that silence does not negate presence. Heidegger would urge us to dwell authentically, recognizing the silence as part of being itself. Religious traditions also offer pathways forward. Christianity speaks of faith that endures even without answers. Hinduism sees life as cyclical, reminding us that silence now may become sound in another age. Buddhism would say that seeking voices outside matters less than awakening compassion within. Literature echoes both hope and caution. In Sagan's Contact, discovery affirms our longing for connection. In Cixin Liu's Dark Forest, contact brings peril. The future may hold either wonder or danger, or perhaps both. Whether the universe stays silent or eventually speaks, the most important question remains: how will we as a species respond? Will we collapse under the weight of loneliness, or rise to become our own voice in the silence? The silence of the universe ultimately reflects us more than it reflects the cosmos. It shows our hunger for connection, our fear of isolation, and our struggle with meaning. When we ask why no one else has spoken, we are really asking about ourselves. Why do we long so deeply for affirmation? What does it mean to be human in a cosmos that offers no reply? Philosophically, the silence is not an answer, but a mirror. Pascal's dread, Aristotle's curiosity, Nietzsche's defiance, all are human responses projected onto an indifferent universe. Perhaps the silence exists not to be solved, but to remind us that meaning is something we must create together. Religious traditions help frame this longing. Christianity assures that even in silence, divine presence can be trusted. Hinduism teaches that our smallness is part of an eternal whole. Buddhism invites us to release our craving for certainty and to accept the silence as part of the great unfolding. Literature, too, gives us strength to endure the unanswered. Gibran finds wisdom in silence. Shelley warns of loneliness, but also the resilience of the human spirit. Sagan transforms silence into awe. Ultimately, the silence need not frighten us. It can inspire humility, deepen compassion, and remind us to cherish the one small world we do have. Whether or not other voices exist, the universe has already spoken. Through the gift of life on Earth, and through the possibility of wonder in every human heart. These resources offer pathways for anyone wishing to dive deeper into the silence of the universe and its many interpretations. Carl Sagan's Contact remains one of the most thoughtful explorations of what first contact might mean: hopeful, challenging, and deeply human. His cosmos expands our vision, inviting us to see silence not as emptiness, but as an opportunity for wonder. Liu Cixin's three-body problem brings a darker imagination, suggesting that silence may be survival strategy in a dangerous cosmos. For those who see literature as a mirror, this novel provides a sobering perspective. Makoto Fujimura's Silence and Beauty connects cosmic silence to cultural silence, showing how art and faith can interpret absence in ways that inspire. David Grinspoon's Lonely Planets and David Catling's Astrobiology, a very short introduction, provide scientific grounding, exploring how life might arise elsewhere and why the silence persists. They remind us that silence is not a final verdict, but a scientific puzzle still unfolding. Podcasts also bring the discussion alive. Gimlet Media's startup episode on the Fermi Paradox offers an accessible introduction. Philosophize This by Stephen West contextualizes silence in the larger sweep of human thought. The SETI Institute's Big Picture Science gives insight into the ongoing scientific search. Websites such as the SETI Institute and NASA Exoplanet Exploration share current research and discoveries, grounding philosophical wonder in empirical science. The Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy gives historical and theoretical depth, framing silence in light of centuries of inquiry. Together, these resources allow us to approach the silence of the universe with both humility and imagination, learning not only what science says, but also what philosophy, literature, and faith have always known. Silence is never empty. It always speaks if we are willing to listen. In the end, the silence of the universe is not a failure, but an invitation. It challenges us to think more deeply about life, meaning, and our place in the cosmos. Whether other voices exist or not, we remain responsible for how we live on this fragile planet, how we treat one another, and how we nurture the possibility of future generations. If the silence persists forever, then we must become the voices we long to hear. We must build a civilization worthy of speaking into the cosmos, one rooted in wisdom, compassion, and imagination. If the silence breaks and another voice answers, we will be tested in humility, forced to recognize that we are not alone and that our story is part of something greater. Religious traditions, literature, and philosophy each remind us that silence is not emptiness. It can be reverence, mystery, or mirror. Whether framed as divine mystery, cosmic rhythm, or existential confrontation, silence has meaning even without words. Carl Sagan wrote that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. Perhaps the silence of the universe reflects not absence, but expectation, waiting for us to grow into the beings capable of listening, understanding, and answering wisely. Until then, the silence itself is our teacher. It tells us we are small, yet significant, alone, yet connected, unanswered, yet capable of creating meaning. The silence of the universe may never end, but wonder ensures that neither does our search.